Hello guys. Today I wanted to film a little video rating popular books that I've read recently. So I've been on Book Talk a lot, which is like the book side of TikTok where people recommend their favorite books and reads. And so I've been using that to pull inspiration and grab books that I feel like a lot of people like, and I've taken those books and now I'm gonna rate them for you guys. I'm not gonna spoil any part of the story throughout this. You can still like read the book, be surprised. I'm just going to give like a recap. I was surprised by how many of these books, like just in my opinion, were not good and are really popular, so my opinion may be different, will probably definitely be different from yours, but we will see. Okay, let's go. The worst book out of this goes to Maybe Not by Colleen Hoover. I personally really like Colleen Hoover. I love her writing. Some people love her, some people think she's like overrated. I like her books. I feel like a lot of them have like twists and surprises that I think are interesting, so I really like it. This one was just not it for me. It's a short story, like 150 pages, and it's all about this. It's from a guy's perspective. It's about this guy who gets a girl roommate. He already lives with two guys, and he's talking about his experience. He like has a crush on her, all this stuff. But the reason I didn't like it was because I felt like it was cheesy, very predictable. There was only one storyline, like only one thing that could possibly happen in the entire book, and it happened. But I just felt like after reading it, I gained nothing. It felt like a waste of time, and so this is definitely the worst Colleen Hoover book I've ever read. I've read like 7 of her books so far, and this is just not, I do not like it. The next book on this list is People We Met on Vacation. I actually already returned this to the library, so I can't show it. But this one was just an utter letdown. I had been recommended this book so many times. Like I know so many people that loved it, and I just did not enjoy it. I think for me, so the book is basically following two best friends, like how they meet and everything, how they become best friends, the girl and the guy, and then it shows them every summer doing different trips and doing different vacations. It shows them like getting older and how each year that goes by, their relationship changes, blah, blah, blah. They get boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever. And for me, the reason I didn't like it was because I felt like there were so many parts in it that were just unnecessary. Like sometimes it would explain the vacations so much in detail that was just like not needed. This was the first book that I ever like skipped pages in that I didn't read, and I actually didn't even like lose track because that's how much like unnecessary information there was. You could just skip a whole lot of chapters and like you wouldn't miss out on anything. So I just didn't like it. I love taking trips and traveling and stuff, but for me, I just felt like it was dull a little bit. The next book, One of Us is Lying. Now this wasn't a bad book. Like I'm rating this worst to best. So this was like better than the first two in my opinion, but it wasn't my favorite. This book is like kind of like a mystery type. It's about 5 students in detention and something happens and there's like a mystery about it, and you're trying to figure out which of the students is like lying and telling the truth. And with this book, it felt very predictable. I didn't feel like a ton of shock factor, but it was still interesting. I liked seeing it because it goes into the different students' perspectives, so you get to hear from all the students. I did think that was interesting. I like the different perspectives, but I felt like it wasn't the greatest. Like if it's a mystery book, it has to be like a good mystery, and to me, this just like wasn't that good. The next book is Hating Game. I almost hated this book. I think it's a great enemies to lovers book. Basically, it's about 2 coworkers. They dislike each other, and it shows them how they slowly over time learn to deal with each other and different like things they encounter, parts of their past that make them who they are and made them like difficult to interact. I thought it was a great enemies to lovers book, but the parts, I just felt like some of it was like very confusing, and for a romance book or love book, I need them to have like real chemistry and see that they would actually work in real life for it to like mean anything to me. And this book was like just felt like hard to like believe that kind of, and because that's not my favorite, but it's good and I would recommend it. It's like an easy read. So that's that one. Next we have Confess by Colleen Hoover. It's about a girl and her journey with dealing with someone, her first love that died. And then she ends up meeting this other guy who's an artist, and kind of it's interesting like how he fits into her life and the things that they encounter. I think it was really good. It had like a ton of twists, a ton of surprises, and it always kept you like on edge. You never knew what was gonna happen. Now that I look back on it, there were like way more twists than I like anticipated, and I think that's why I love a lot of her books, is because they always have a surprise. But I think it's really good. It is kind of like a romance book, but I feel like it has a lot of other elements that make it interesting. Next one on the list is up so high as like one of my more favorite books, but it was actually like one of my least favorites. I'm gonna explain. This one is Normal People. So I started Normal People and I had no idea. Like, it's just weird, like the way it's written. First of all, none of the quotes or dialogue has quotation marks, which can be super confusing to read. But then as soon as you get used to the dialogue that's not in quotation marks, it becomes super like immersive. And I think that's why I'm rating it higher, is because this book like impacted me like a lot. It's the most depressing book I've ever read in my life. I don't know if it's just the way I took the book that made it so depressing. I haven't heard anyone like talk about it like that, but that's how it felt. But yeah, I'm literally only rating it high because it made me feel something, which I feel like can be hard with a book. If a book can make you like moved or make you like that emotional, I feel like it's good. But I'm gonna share with you guys why I didn't like it. So it's about two teenagers. It starts out, they go to the same school, but they don't interact in public a lot. And then it talks about them like going through life, the direction they go, and they kind of, no matter where they are, they always stay in contact no matter what point in life they're in. And this is why I didn't like it. I felt like the girl throughout the entire book was so mistreated by everyone, like just abused basically the entire book. And I feel like she never got justice. There was no self-growth for either of the characters. By the end, they ended up in the same spot, and to me that's like the most disappointing part, is the idea that like nothing changed. Like I read all that and it felt like for nothing. I do like it that it's like normal people, and the book felt like you were just truly watching just normal people go through life. Nothing felt like it was like fake or like cliche, like it was just normal. But it kind of made you view everyone as like a terrible person. Like I feel like in real life not everyone is like a villain, and in this book that's kind of how it painted all of the characters, in my opinion, except for the girl. But yeah, it's definitely very intense, has some like heavy topics and stuff, but it's interesting and it gives you an insight. Just don't read it if you don't want to be like sad after. Next, these two are my favorites that I read out of this bunch, and I'll explain why. So the first, I realized I had to decide which one is the most favorite, and I can't decide, so I'm gonna show both of them and they're tied. The first is The Seven Husbands by Evelyn and Hugo. This is like, I feel like the only really popular book out of this bunch that I truly like saw the hype over. This book is about a famous woman, and it's kind of talking about her life. She needs to have a book written about her life, and so she hires this woman, and together they go through like the most honest truths of all her marriages. And I think it definitely didn't have any super surprising things in my opinion. Some parts were more shocking, but for the most part it was like, you know, just a story, it felt like. But it was so well written, and it really got you to see the way that like her mind worked, what she did for fame and stuff. It's just so interesting, and I definitely like, I was interested in every chapter. I enjoyed reading it, and I think it's one of the only books I've read that it didn't just start getting interesting at like page 100. Like it was good throughout it all. I really liked it. I recommend this a lot. The last one we're gonna talk about is The Silent Patient. This book is like a mystery, suspense, horror, not horror really. I don't even know how to like describe it. So it's about this man, from his perspective. He's a psychotherapist, and he is really fascinated with this woman who killed her husband. People don't really know if it's true because the girl won't talk. And so she's like in some sort of psych ward and hasn't spoken since the death of her husband about anything. So she's just been in there silent, just living life. And he becomes like obsessed with her story. And so his goal is to find a way to work for that company and be able to interview her and like help her. And I just think the whole book, it's written very well. I think that the twists and turns were like just enough to make you like shocked and also confused, and I just really enjoyed it. At the end of the book, my mouth was just like open and I was like, what? Like it was truly good. I loved it, and out of every book, this one is just so good. I love it. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed that video of me sharing my rating the worst and the best books from Book Talk.